Welcome to Alert Tales, your destination for the most compelling real-life stories that inspire, move, and ignite meaningful conversations. If you're drawn to narratives that stir emotions and bring us closer together, you've found your home. Subscribe now and become part of our community for more unforgettable tales that will keep you hooked from start to finish. My aunt passed, and I'm inheriting a shit ton of money. Needed to get this off my chest because I can't talk to anybody else about this for risk of destroying my relationships with my siblings, aunts, uncles, and cousins. My dad is the only person who knows simply because he's the executor of the will. Back in January, my aunt passed away very suddenly. It took until last week to finally get access to all of her financials. Come to find out, I'm listed as the sole beneficiary on her IRA worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. A life-changing amount of money. My aunt was unmarried and had nothing else to her name except for a condo. No one else in the family is listed on anything. My dad said the plan is to sell everything belonging to the estate and to split the proceeds up amongst the family. He made it abundantly clear that the IRA is mine and no one else needs to know about it. Beyond that, he had no advice as he himself isn't a financial guy. It's a good problem to have for sure, but I'm totally overwhelmed and have absolutely no one to talk to about it. Thanks for reading. I kicked my mother-in-law out of the house on Christmas. Hi, I'm writing here a bit to vent. I was living with my wife, both 40, our 2 children, 9 male, 2 female, and my mother-in-law, 67 female. My mother-in-law came to live with us 4 years ago, somewhat out of necessity. Our cohabitation was okay, with the typical problems of a mother-in-law offering opinions and criticizing more than necessary, but we managed it fairly well overall. During the Christmas celebrations, we got together with family. My parents, my brother, and one of my mother-in-law's sisters came. We had a great time together, no problems at all. When it was time for the children to open their presents, my mother-in-law made the comment, "I didn't like this Christmas, it doesn't make any sense, they should have done it like every year." Basically, some presents didn't have names on them, and they didn't magically appear under the tree, but rather in a room. My son was determined to catch Santa this time, so we had to improvise a plan to not break the magic. I was quite annoyed by the comment, but I didn't want to ruin the moment by arguing, especially in front of the children. The following morning, after the guests had left and my son was in his room, I told my mother-in-law, without using bad language or raising my voice, that her comment had upset me, that her daughter and I had put a lot of effort into having a nice celebration, and that her comment was inappropriate. Upon hearing this, she flew into a rage. She has never been good at receiving criticism, but this time she reacted very badly. She started shouting that she is always being criticized and that she never had bad intentions, that no one heard the comment. I heard it, my mom heard it, my wife heard it, and she started shouting to not let me speak. I told her that this time I was going to have to interrupt her, that I couldn't stay silent, and we started talking over each other, both of us raising our voices more and more. We ended up shouting at each other. She started yelling, "I'm leaving," and I responded by yelling back, "Then leave." Up to that point, everything was okay, but with the shouting, my son came to see what was happening. Right in the middle of this shouting, my mother-in-law had her glass in her hand, and she threw it on the floor towards the living room where I was. The glass shattered, and shards went flying everywhere. At that moment, my wife, her daughter, and her sister, who were present during the argument, went to my mother-in-law to try to restrain her. My mother-in-law started punching her sister, hitting her in the arms. I then managed to grab my 2-year-old daughter, who was sitting at a small table next to my mother-in-law. I picked her up and took her away from there. I also took my son and brought them to the bedroom. I went back to the living room to get my wife out of the fight, but my mother-in-law had already left the house. I started picking up the glass and vacuuming. My children always walk barefoot, and I made the decision to not let my mother-in-law back into the house. My wife and I are very calm people, and in my house we never even shout, let alone throw things. It was the first time my son had seen any violence, and that hurt me a lot. I informed my aunt, my wife's aunt, my mother-in-law's sister, that I wasn't going to let my mother-in-law come back to the house. That we would help her if she needed a place to stay, but that she couldn't come back. So I took my wife and my children and we locked ourselves in our room. My mother-in-law came in to get her things, took a shower, called a taxi, and left with a couple of bags. That's how everything ended for now. My son is a bit angry with my mother-in-law. I thought he would be sad, but he seems more angry. My wife agrees with the decision I made. She had also been a bit tired of her mother for some time. My little daughter doesn't talk much. For the moment she hasn't shown any changes in her behavior at least. I feel at peace with my decision, and a lot of family members support us, although other people blame us for everything that happened. I still can't help but feel like the man who kicked his mother-in-law out of the house on Christmas Day. English is not my native language, so ChatGPT will translate this. I know there's a lot of AI bait here, but I needed to put it out there to vent. Thanks for reading. Thank you for watching Alert Tales. If you enjoyed these stories, please like, share, and subscribe for more real-life tales that inspire and move. See you next time.